Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Life at Leyton podcast with me, Sarah Glanville, as your host. Here at Leyton UK, we know our people are more than just their job. The careers of our people are part of their unique lives, and who they are as a whole person is what fundamentally contributes to their success and the success of our business. In the podcast, we'll spend time with one of our exceptional people from across the business. And in each episode, we'll look to explore the people behind the job titles, the unique and brilliant stories that make them who they are. If you're part of the Leyton team, you'll know that June is the last month of our financial year, and things ramp up right to the very last day. But I managed to steal some time from Navid SO-Two-Day, our finance director for Leyton UK and US. Navid talks on the podcast today about his team's role in setting up the business for success, turning data and numbers into a story that leadership can use to make informed decisions across every level of the business. Thank you, Navid, for wrapping up the financial year on the podcast with me. And thank you all for tuning in. Grab yourself a coffee and get ready to be inspired by the people that are Leyton UK. Hello, Navid. Welcome to the Life at Leyton podcast. How are you?
Hi, Sarah. I'm very good. I'm really excited to actually be on the podcast. I've been listening to some of the episodes and I'm excited to be part of this episode.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you as a guest. Thank you for making some time for us. We are here today to talk about your world of finance here at Leyton.
Yes.
So I think the best place for us to start is for you to talk us through a bit about your career journey before you joined Leyton as our finance director, just to give us a bit of context before we jump into the details.
Yeah, that'll be good. So I was an economics graduate, and my career actually started at KPMG, part of the Big Four, and I was in audit. And the great thing about starting my career there was when you're in audit, you get to go to different companies and see how they operate. And what's really great about that is you see what works well and what doesn't work well. And I think that was a really good foundation for me and my career in finance. And I was there for 5 years. And I've applied like some of the things I saw in those different companies to kind of my future career. So I think that was a really great start for me, to be honest. After that, I spent 8 years at a retail company. And after doing that, I was at a Capita for 4 years as a finance director before I joined Leyton. And actually, one of the great thing about all the roles I've had is there's been even though they've been different sectors, there's actually been a constant theme in all the different companies. And that theme is they've all been fast-paced companies, entrepreneurial type environments, and that's, I guess, the type of companies I've always gravitated towards.
Yeah, there's so much to dive into there. Did you, I guess when you were going through your studies at university studying economics, did you know that you wanted to get into like finance specifically? Because there's a few different routes you could have taken, I guess, from that degree.
I think I chose economics because it was a kind of a good blend of both kind of written skills and kind of numerical skills. And actually, when I was doing economics, I actually did an internship at KPMG. So I spent one of my summers at KPMG and I enjoyed it. So that's how I kind of got into kind of accountancy. But no, I think when I started doing an economics degree, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the end of it. But after doing the internship, it was a great introduction basically into the world of finance and accounting.
Yeah, and I guess what drew you to that as an opportunity? Was it the environment at KPMG, or was it something to do with the work and specifically that you were exposed to there?
I think two things. One, you train to become an ACA qualified chartered accountant. So you get that extra qualification, but on top of that, as I said, if you work at KPMG, so I was in the consumer goods and retail department, and you got to work with a lot of household names, and you got to go into their offices, their head offices, and speak to lots of people in those types of companies. And I just thought it was a good training ground for me to understand, how each company operates, and we're all very different and diverse. So
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting. And you mentioned obviously the pace of the different companies that you've worked at through your career. Um, has that always been something that you've known, I guess, you were looking for, or was that something you found just has you've been naturally gravitating towards?
I think I've been looking for it, and one of the great things about have working kind of a fast-paced entrepreneur environment, which Leighton is as well, is that you never get bored. No 2 months are ever the same. There's always something happening. There's always something changing, and I think that makes it, particularly when you're in finance and you're looking at numbers or looking at financial strategy. I think it's important to work for a company where it is growing and it's changing and because you also change and grow with it as well. So it's something I've kind of gravitated towards.
Yeah. And I guess maybe this is part of the reason why you decided to join Leyton UK 2 years ago. But what was the reason, or I guess what drew you to this opportunity in particular?
I think a couple of things. So I think like most people, I hadn't heard of Leighton before I actually went into the interview, and I think a lot of people have had a similar experience. But actually, once you delve into it, Leighton is actually quite an exciting and large business to work for. We operate in over 12, 13 countries. We have over 2,000 employees, and you're sometimes when you're doing your research actually surprised by that. And I think that's what kind of drew me, that actually this isn't just a small company, it's a very large company, and particularly looking at Leighton UK, um it's going through a lot of kind of a growth journey, and that's I think what made it exciting for me, that you actually part of a much bigger business.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess that opportunity to join a business that's going through such growth and such change and have a small impact on that, or have a big impact on that, is really attractive opportunity. So how has your career background influenced your approach to finance? You mentioned already incorporating some of the best practices that you've
Mm.
observed in other businesses. So do you feel like that's been a pivotal influence on your career?
I think so. I think so. Seeing how other companies operate, you know what good looks like, and but you also know the mistakes that others make. And that's certainly what I've tried to apply at Leighton. I've looked at the good practices that I've experienced in other companies, and I've tried to apply that at Leighton. I think what's great at Leighton is you have a mixture of different types of people. You have people who've been here many years, well, or even like near the beginning of when UK was founded, to people who have come in recently from different backgrounds. And I think that makes it quite diverse, because you've got people who know the Leighton way, but also you've got people who have seen other ways, and you get the best blend of both, I think. And that's what I think helps make Leighton so successful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's that kind of pooling of experience and
Yeah,
latent experience, but also external experience and the blend of the two. So
exactly. Yeah.
can you share how finance teams add value to businesses beyond kind of crunching numbers? Because when you don't work in finance, I guess that's kind of the perception of what you
It
guys do.
is. It is. We don't always sit behind a spreadsheet and look at numbers, but we do sometimes. I always say that the role of finance, there's two parts to it. The first part is looking after the numbers, because that is, a core part of what we do. But the other part of finance, which I think is more exciting, is not just to look after the numbers, but to tell the story behind the numbers. And I think that's a really key part of what we do. So it's not just about sharing data, but showing you why the data is the way it is, and therefore helping influence decision making. If we want to make a certain decision, we need the data, but we also need to know why it's showing us a certain way. So yeah, that's I think kind of what we do in Leighton is not just look at the data, but be able to analyze it, interpret it, and walk through that data with the business.
Yeah, because it's a lot. Obviously, it's a lot to communicate that, I guess, to the people that are making decisions and
Mm,
showing them exactly what they need to see so they can make informed decisions. And that's such an important part. It's not just about putting a spreadsheet in front of people or putting a list of
No.
numbers in front of people. It's about painting that picture. And how do you feel are you able to tailor that message to different people? Because obviously everyone sort of consumes information differently as well. How do you bring that story to life for the people that make decisions?
Yeah, we have lots of different people we share that information with, and you do have to tailor it to who the audience is. We have people who are not from a finance background, so we're going to have to explain things, perhaps more in basic terms to understand, what is this showing. Or we also have to present to, some senior finance people who are perhaps are more understanding of the concepts. So then you go into a different level of detail, but yeah, we do have to tailor it to a different customers that we have. And the great thing about finance is we work across the spectrum of departments. So we work with sales, consulting, HR, learning development, marketing. So we do touch base with all different departments, and we do have a lot of different type of stakeholders.
Yeah. And how do you feel, I guess, still sitting on finance teams and how they impact businesses, how do you feel the role of the finance team is evolving in the business landscape as it is today?
I think finance is definitely moving away from just being number crunching to supporting the strategy of the business and supporting that decision making. If I give you one example of something we've recently supported a business with is the launch of our electric car scheme in the UK, which is something we're quite proud of, because on the market today there aren't many companies that offer that as an employee benefit. And
Yeah.
finance had a big role to play in that, in terms of looking at different suppliers, doing a business case on all the different costs, and helping the company make a decision on what is the right course of action, what is the right supplier, what is the right return on investment, etc., for both for the company and for our staff. So that's just an example where we have supported make a key positive change for our employees across Leyton.
Yeah. The electric car scheme's getting some great reviews from the guys who've had their cars delivered. Thinks everyone's very excited about it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of posts on social media about it, and as I said, it's a new thing. Certainly, I have not worked for another company that had this benefit, and I think it's still new, and it's good to be part of the first wave of companies that are offering this as an employee benefit. So it's something we're happy with, and we hope it will be successful.
Yeah, it definitely has got off to a great start. I hadn't actually prepped you for this question, but I've just
Go
had a
for it.
thought. So, I guess leading on from the electric car scheme, we've had to do our SAMI carbon accounting
Yes.
recently. So, I guess, do you want to talk us through a little bit about that process, and from your perspective within finance, what that looked like and the impact that that's had on your role, the legislation that's sort of driven that change and need to do it, and I guess how that's impacting the business going forward?
Yeah, that's actually a very, topical thing at the moment. ESG is a big part of what companies are looking at, and certainly at Leyton, we're looking at our carbon footprint. And really, the first step for us, before we even think about reducing our carbon footprint, is to actually measure our carbon footprint, to actually understand the impact we're making. Because once you know what your carbon footprint is, and where you are impacting it the most, that's where you can make certain decisions. So we recently worked with a third party who specialize in measuring carbon footprint, and they've helped us measure our carbon footprint, which is great, because we now know, the impact on some of our decisions we're making. And we're using that to this is going to be a multi-year project to reduce our carbon footprint as much as possible. And that's actually where the electric car scheme actually helped, because if we can help our employees use less petrol cars and more electric cars, that is going to reduce our carbon impact. But there are lots of other initiatives we're looking at the moment outside of that, which we hope will will have a more positive impact on the environment as well, because that's certainly something that is important to us.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the change that's coming on the back of that. It's great to be involved in a business that takes this so seriously and is, also willing to invest in helping employees to reduce their carbon footprint with the likes of the electric vehicle scheme. Um, Not just talking about it, but actually taking
Yeah,
real meaningful action.
taking action, and then as I said, there's definitely more to come on there. So we'll watch for space, but we are working on other initiatives so to help with that.
Teasing for the future, Navid. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
exactly.
So, with the emphasis on your role being very data driven, and I know that you take that's you like to make decisions based on data, and I think that's something that's within the UK business landscape becoming how we want to make decisions is really data driven. How does your finance team contribute towards fostering that culture of trust and validation within the business?
I think that is important, and it's a motto we have, trust and validate. One of the things we are doing is automating a lot of our reports. So we are using a new software called Power BI. Well, it's not actually that new, but we are using Power BI to automate a lot of our reporting. And what that does is it means the data in some cases can just be live. You don't have to run it. You can just click on the link and see what that data is doing. And it gives the user the power to go into the detail and understand why the numbers are made up the way they are. And I think that once that's rolled out across, the spectrum of all our reporting, I think that'll play a key part, because it will gain people's trust that they can not just see the pretty dashboard, but they can actually delve into the detail and understand how the numbers are made up. And that is a key part of it, but that's again just the number side. What we're going to do beyond that is help analyze and tell the story behind the number, to say, okay, this is up or this is down, and this is why, and this is the impact our decision is making on these figures. So that will also be a key part of finance's role.
Yeah, fantastic. And I guess wrapping up kind of the financial year, this is our final episode of the financial year. We're almost there. Do you want to
We
give us
are.
just about a few weeks left? Do you want to give us a brief update on the business performance from this year? Any notable achievements that you want to call out?
Yeah, I think our financial year end is June, and we are a private company, so there's probably so much I can say. But what I will say is that Leyton is growing, and that is a really, in the current environment, where we can see, in the market, some companies are struggling. So it is very positive to be part of a company that's growing. We're also diversifying. We are launching in new territories beyond the UK, and we are also looking at new products. A lot of that is plans for next year, plans that go into next year as well. But I think the business performance year on year has been very strong, and we are definitely moving in the right direction, and we plan to grow even more into next financial year, and I think that's very exciting. Certainly, the growth we've had this year is one of the larger growths we've had over the last couple of years. So it's been a really positive year, and we're looking to take that forward into next year and start the year positively as well.
Yeah, fantastic. It's been a notable year, I think, as you've mentioned, and a lot of stellar performances across the business. Everyone really, driving things forward, and I think we're going to have a nice celebration in July to
I
see
think
off
so,
the
and
year.
and actually, what's good is that I think everyone's contributed to our success, whether they are in operations or they are in consulting or sales. Everyone's had their own contribution towards it, and I think that's what's really positive. That it's been a real team effort, the growth that we're experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Navid, thank you so much for your time and for answering my questions. Is there anything else that you want to cover off before we wrap up?
No, thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be part of the last episode of the series of the financial year, and yeah, I look forward to listening to the future podcasts. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Are you going to listen to your own?
I don't know. I'm not sure I like the sound of my own voice, but I may listen to a snippet.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Navid.
No
Really
problem.
appreciate your time. And thank you to everyone for listening along at home. I hope you all enjoyed our little chat as much as I did. Today's episode is the final one of this financial year, so we're going to be back in about a month's time to welcome you all back for XO27. But until then, if you're one of the members in our talent community and you are interested in finding out more about what the future might look like at Leyton, please do reach out to one of us here in the talent acquisition team. We will be back in a few weeks' time. Thank you again, Navid, for sharing your story, and thank you all for listening in. This has been the Life at Leyton podcast.